Greetings, salutations. Hello, we are consistent with our greetings. Derek, that makes us the opposite of the Indianapolis Colts. I guess actually they've been consistent the last 3 games. It just hasn't been in the right direction, right?
They've consistently had chances to win and found ways to lose.
That's fair.
I guess.
You're wearing your Colts colors, though.
Unfortunately, yeah. You like this LL Bean for our buddy Matthew up in Maine?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I mean, not to cast a cloud over the whole thing, but thoughts with all of our friends. Matthew, who had lived in Lewiston, and all of our friends in Maine. It's tragic that we keep having to do this, and then 5 minutes later we forget about it until the next one happens. I promised I wasn't going to get on my soapbox today about that, but it's just unfortunate that, we've done nothing and we're all out of ideas, right? This is just kind of where we are right now in this country.
I think that's fair. I'm not saying that's a fair synopsis. How's that?
I hate saying that I've given up, but I've given up.
Oh, yeah, it's not going to change.
Yeah. So that is extremely depressing to come to grips with.
Correct. But we do have a lot of sports to talk about, including the Colts, the Pacers, college football. We'll begin with the Colts, I guess, in the fact that game against New Orleans, Derek, I felt like what you had in that game, and you correct me if you disagree with this, but two teams on the Colts and the Saints that you kind of felt like you've driven on the interstate taking road trips, right?
Of course.
And you get that road friend, the person that you're driving, and you're like, oh, there's the guy.
I love it. Yeah. You almost pace yourself with somebody, yes.
And then eventually one of the two of you exits to go get gas or get whatever, and so you almost want to give it like a wave. Like, it feels like the Colts and the Saints in terms of their seasons were going that same, and you knew one of them was about to exit. Mm-hmm. You didn't know which it was going to be. And at the end of that game, the Colts were off the exit ramp and the Saints kept going because the Saints needed that game perhaps even more than the Colts did, but it knocks the Colts down now to the bottom of the AFC South. And even though the schedule is favorable, there just seems to be a lot of things going against them.
Yeah, you never want to be the get-right game for somebody else. And the Colts were kind of the get-right game for the Saints. They were averaging, going into that game, the Saints, per game, 19 points. So they doubled their 7-game season average to that point. I mean, it wasn't a team that was in disarray or anything like that. The Saints are competent. They have some good players and some good playmakers, but it's not a good team. And that's a team that you have to find a way to win at home. And I think it brings us to the larger conversation, Jake, which is, even though expectations maybe for this team have gone out the window, and maybe they were always out the window considering where they stood going into this season and then after the Anthony Richardson injury, but the expectations can never be zero. And the fact is that the Colts have had opportunities. I'll throw out the Jacksonville game. Jacksonville, I think you'd agree, they're clearly better than the Colts, right? That team looks like maybe an actual title contender. The last two teams that they faced, the Browns with P.J. Walker and then this Saints team, those are games that you need to find ways to win at home. I don't care what the expectations are. You need to find ways to win, and the Colts lost both of them. So that in of itself, I think, is disappointing. We're almost in this area where, there are some people that are like being like hypercritical, like fire everybody. And, I'm not there, but I'm also not what did you expect this year? I'm also not there.
My concern is this. My concern is, and it's low-hanging fruit to sit here and jump all over, like, fire everybody. I get it, right? But you knew going into the year that this year was about Anthony Richardson. It was about building around him. It was about seeing what you had. I think we know now he's a player. Mm-hmm. Is he a player that's going to stay healthy? I don't know, but he's a player. Now,
there's something there, yeah.
Correct, there's something there. Now, the question becomes this. Considering that their defensive backfield, and I know that they've had injuries. Dallas Flowers got hurt. Isaiah Rodgers got on an app.
Juju Brents got hurt.
Got hurt. Darrell Baker got toasted.
Yeah.
Tony Brown, I thought, was a backup point guard for Indiana, and now he's, whatever. But those are areas that everybody and their brother was saying they need to shore up. They need to get better players here. They need to get a free agent or something. And we were kind of told in that Southern drawl, oh, we got it. We know more about this than you do. Okay. Wide receiver. For several years, people were, and Josh Downs is a player. Kudos for them for selecting him.
Finally.
But Alec Pierce, you're still kind of waiting on. And that, we were told, like, this isn't a concern. We're good.
Paris Campbell kept getting hurt, remember?
Yeah.
And you were like, well, Paris is going to be fine this year, and then he wasn't
so
fine.
The question is, based on those things, should we then have question about whether or not there is competency to build the proper pieces around Anthony Richardson?
Yeah.
We should know the answer to that at this point, and we still don't.
I think two things can be true. I think you can't possibly prepare for the amount of injuries and a gambling suspension and all of that the Colts have had to go through. But at the same time, the Colts entered this season content to start 2 UDFAs at outside corner.
That's an undrafted free agent.
That's a critical spot to start the season with 2 UDFAs. I don't care what the circumstances are.
Juju Brents got hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other 3 guys we just mentioned, Darrell Baker, Tony Brown, Dallas Flowers, all 3 undrafted free agents.
Yeah. And Tony Brown is a special teams player, and that's where he belongs. Tony Brown shouldn't take a snap in a non-special team situation unless you're up or down 40. It's like that scene in Hoosiers where Gene Hackman tells Ollie, don't shoot unless you're wide open by yourself under the basket.
Right.
That's Tony Brown. Like, in case of emergency, break glass. And unfortunately, the Colts had to break the glass last week because they had nothing else. But and that's the other thing that, we're talking about the team evaluation, but we're also talking about Ballard evaluation. There are valid excuses for Chris Ballard. You brought him back, though, for the next 2 years. I don't care what anybody says. There is no way Chris Ballard is getting fired after this year. Zero chance.
Derek,
Zero.
Let me tell you something. You know the best thing to happen to Chris Ballard? You know the moment, if there are moments in your life you look back on and you look at the picture every once in a while just because you want to relive it again.
Mm-hmm.
You know the moment for Chris Ballard that he should look back on, he should have it framed above his fireplace.
Or say hiring Saturday?
Nope.
Tell me.
Andrew Luck walking off the field.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck head down, looking like
the worst moment is also the best moment.
That's the best thing ever to happen to Chris Ballard
Yeah.
because it was like, you know what? 5 more years.
Yeah.
Here's 5 more years. I'm convinced that I'm going to be, well, I won't live to be 90. You might. So when you're 90 years old, it's going to be the year 2073, and you're going to turn on your radio. And when you turn on your radio, you're going to hear somebody saying, well, you got to keep in mind, though, the Colts, Andrew Luck quit on them. How long do we give this? Like, since Andrew Luck quit, the Philadelphia Eagles, since Andrew Luck retired, the Philadelphia Eagles re-signed Carson Wentz, drafted Jalen Hurts, booted Carson Wentz, started Jalen Hurts, went to a Super Bowl. In the time since Andrew Luck retired. So it's an eternity in NFL standards.
Yeah, you're right.
You can't keep hanging on it. But here we are, right?
Yeah, and there are valid excuses for Ballard, but he can't be excused for everything. And I think sometimes the anti-Ballard people want to blame him for everything, and the pro-Ballard people want to excuse everything, and you have to kind of be somewhere in the middle. What I'll say is that nothing that happens this year is going to dictate Chris Ballard's immediate future, at the very least. But even if there are still valid excuses in 2024 or even 2025, eventually, Jake, he's going to have to pursue, his team is going to have to present a tangible result. That's the name of the game. It's the NFL. And eventually, even valid excuses run out. So I think the Colts have been very patient. I think Ballard's done a lot of good things. I don't think this is a bad roster. I've tried to fight against that narrative. I think you have too. I think they're not good enough in key spots, and that's always been Ballard's problem. Outside corner, wide receiver, quarterback, it goes outside. Look at the pass rush right now.
Right.
They really need Kwity Paye and Dayo Odengbo to hit, and they got to hit now. And if they're not hitting now, that's a big problem.
But Derek, that's the problem is like there was so much, and I agree with that. And they've shown flashes, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm giving them more time.
But we've been waiting forever, and we've been preached patience about the pass rush. And you're right, it's got to happen now, right? Now, one area where I will defend Chris Ballard, and I will admit to the hypocrisy of certainly myself, and in doing that, I will represent my colleagues in the media and my counterparts in the media. During the Jonathan Taylor saga of ankle gate, back gate, physically unable to perform, non-football injury, etc. During that time, we preached till the cows came home that in the 2023 football of the NFL, running back was not a position that you should prioritize, and that winning football is not built around giving money to the running back because it is, to use Derek's favorite word, a fungible position. And I preach that from the mountaintops. We don't have mountains in Indiana, but I preach it from Crown Hill on the top of it, the highest point in Marion County. So over and over and over, still to an extent believe that. And I understood the Colts drawing that line in the sand when it came to Jonathan Taylor. But Derek, in the end, the Colts caved. They caved. They gave him $14 million. Jonathan Taylor got exactly what Jonathan Taylor wanted. Jonathan Taylor's agent that everybody thought was this boogeyman, bad guy, totally out of touch jerk, did his job. Kudos to him, man. Jonathan Taylor hit the lottery when he got that agent. Got him $14 million a year. But you know what? Bottom line is, when they lost that game to New Orleans, what did everybody say? They got away from Jonathan Taylor, and that's why they lost. You know what that means? It means that in order to win, we are saying, they needed to prioritize Jonathan Taylor and the running game in 2023. So if we are going to chastise the Colts or actually side with the Colts for playing hardball with Jonathan Taylor by saying Jonathan Taylor is not in 2023 a relevant player that wins you games, we cannot, on the other hand, then within a month say they lost a game because they didn't feature Jonathan Taylor. But that's what we're doing. And in the now, that's the right answer and the right line. So reality is totally hypocritical to say so, but they got away from him, and that cost them the game.
They got away from him, and it didn't help. What cost them the game was giving up 500 yards and 38 points.
But, Derek, he touched the ball once in the second half.
Yeah, no, I get that. But the defense was awful.
Understood. But part of how you keep the defense off the field is you move the football.
Yeah, I agree. Like, Jonathan Taylor needs to get more than one carry in the second half, but I feel like, and you may disagree with this, I feel like we've kind of defaulted into everything is about the play calling. Do you notice that too? I mean, you host a radio show every day, and people call up. I mean, I'm convinced, and I tweeted this the other night, I'm convinced the Colts could give up 80 points and 800 yards, and Rakestraw would open up the phone lines with Bill Brooks on the postgame show, and the first call would be, hey, why did we pass there on that 2nd and 8 there in the second quarter?
Right.
And you're like, dude, the score was 80-7. What, 2nd and 8 in the second? What are you talking about? We let him block 3 punts, and we threw 10 interceptions.
I think Shane Steichen has really looks. I mean, it's you forget he's been coaching for 3 months. He looks the part. He seems composed. He seems to kind of know what's going on. I think sometimes he outthinks himself.
Yeah, me too. But he's learning on the job.
Right.
I mean, this is part of it. Shane Steichen's not a finished product.
It's like you when we first started doing the show.
Yeah.
Like you were learning on the job. I had to remind myself of that. I'm like, he's never done this before. He's
now,
new.
No one listened except maybe like my mom, but I technically had more radio show hosting experience than you did.
You probably did.
But it was to a show that no one, I don't think,
I heard
it. To. Yeah, okay.
I heard it because I was next to you one time in the Speedway Media Center, and you were really loud.
No, I think you're thinking of Greg.
Maybe.
You might be. Maybe it was me and Greg. I remember Greg and I both getting up there and patching in the tie line
by
in
the way,
Speedway Media Center.
By the way, let me just – this moment's brought to you by Hallmark Cards. This is a special moment. You ready?
Yeah.
This is a special moment that I'm allowing the listeners of this program and the watchers on ISC Sports Network. Thank you for Bailey and Wood, by the way, for presenting this program. I'm going to, because it's on my mind and my ADD, I don't want to kick in, I'm going to give you something here that people are going to be stunned by.
Okay. Like a gift?
This is the key to my residence.
Oh.
I'm going out of town.
Yeah.
There are 2 codes that you need. This is the exterior door. That is the door once you go inside the main foyer. They're both written down for you.
Great.
I'm going out of town, and Derek's going to hopefully check on the cat. Valerie, actually, I think is going to kind of hang out with Boo for a little bit. But now I'm going to give you time slots. So what times would you be able to go by?
Oh, I don't know. It changes day to day. My schedule is constantly in flux.
Well, you're one of 4 people in the rotation.
Okay. You have 4 house keys that you've handed out?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I'm making sure that everything's good to go.
Is that normal to have 4 house keys?
Well, I went to my buddy Fred at
Yeah.
Sullivan Hardware and
Okay.
had to make 4 house
Right there in
keys.
Midtown, 49th and Penn?
Not Midtown.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to check on Boo and all of that, and this further cements that we're best friends.
He'll probably hide. He's been well instructed.
You would not give this to somebody that was not your best friend or direct neighbor.
Well, my neighbor has one. My sister has one. Valerie has one, and you have one.
Yeah, your sister. Valerie is a best friend of the show, and me, a real-life best friend and best friend of the show.
Okay, fair enough.
So that's great.
And then with that, I'm also hungry.
Yeah, let's do it. Hoagies and Hops. Hogan Hero of the Week. Sorry, we got started already. Sometimes we do this. Sometimes we get hungry here in the studio. This here is the Dutch Country. Probably the most unique sandwich you can get. I can guarantee you cannot get this sandwich anywhere else within like a 100-mile radius of Indianapolis. So it is Lebanon bologna. What else is on this bad boy? Beer grain mustard, Munster cheese, lettuce, tomato, and on that South Jersey bread.
Very good. It has almost a sweetness to it.
It's unique, right? And then you get hit with the beer grain mustard a little bit, right? It's a
little bit.
A little spicy meatball in there. Really, really good Sando. And then we have here, so they were running low on cans at Chili Water Tap Room, and they had Santeria and what was the other one? Loose Juicy. And we had just kind of featured those multiple times. So I go in there and last night, and Alexis is like, hey, do you want to try some of these? These are floral brand, and they are cannabis-infused drinks. So 2.5 milligrams of THC.
Tastes like soda.
5 milligrams of CBD. And they offset each other a little bit, but she said it's great, like, when you just want to relax, take a couple sips, and sit on the couch. It helps with pain management and all that. You take CBD, don't you? Mm-hmm. Or you did? Or you still do? Mm-hmm. And while neither of us are current users of cannabis or marijuana or anything like that.
What do you mean current? You
know me, Jake. I am always beating the drum that I am pro-legalize it. And that really has nothing to do with me. It's just that if you're a grown adult and that's what you want to do,
what you're saying?
I have no problem. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like we can say that, right? Statute of limitations is probably run out on.
Do your parents know this?
My arrest. I don't know. I think they do. They found in my childhood toy box down in my basement that used to be kind of my stash bin because I thought, who's going to look at my childhood toy box? It's got like my blocks and stuff in there. So I'd put like a fifth of vodka or like a packet of Red Man, and then I had a glass bowl that I bought in New York City in Chinatown with my buddy Pete when we were, I don't know, like, 18, 19 years old or whatever. And I came back home and one time and I opened up the toy box and there was nothing in there but toys. Now, they never said anything to me about it or anything else. They never brought it up to me, and I never brought it up to them. But, yeah, that was kind of how they did it.
Okay. What do you think your dad said?
Oh, this is really sweet.
It is.
And tart. Yeah, he probably wasn't happy with it. So this has Midwest hemp in it. So I'll just read the back of the can because usually you can learn a lot about the back of the can. At Floral, we comb through our farms for the finest hemp flowers that are ready for harvest. We include meaningful amounts of naturally purified, traceable hemp extract in each so you can get that effect that you expect. It's good. Refreshing.
Very good.
Margarita taste. And, I mean, we're all grown adults, right? We're kind of past the, ooh, there's THC, CBD in it, woo. Like, I think we're kind of past that, right? We can have adult conversations about these things. It's basically been completely decriminalized, even if it's not fully legalized, which it still should be. And you can't, like, get high from drinking 2.5 milligrams. That's not how that works. So
very good.
If you want to try it, if you want to just kind of chill, relax, maybe even after watching this show, you heard Jake say something really stupid and you're kind of amped up. I'm good.
Okay.
Good. Perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. We come back on the show. A quick college
who's
football
your hero
roundup.
of the week?
Oh yeah, sorry. I always forget. I always eat the sandwiches and drink the chili water drinks, and then I usually forget about the actual hero. I'm going to. Actually, no. Sorry, that's for later on. Bryce Young is who I'm going with. Bryce Young's my hero of the week. He's taken on a lot of arrows early in the season here because he's looked like the third best quarterback, even though he was the pick that was taken number 1 overall. But how about this? 15-play, 86-yard drive to outduel C.J. Stroud and win that game. The first NFL win for Bryce Young, and first win of the season for Frank Reich and the Carolina Panthers.
And if they're going to get win number 2, it's going to be against?
The Colts.
If they get it next.
And, I mean, they scored 15 points, so it's nothing to throw a parade over. But still,
Right.
I think that in of itself is an important moment for him and maybe a confidence booster.
I'm going to give it to
after
Trace
a rough
Jackson
season.
Davis for me.
Yeah, he had a wonderful game.
Trace
last
Jackson
night.
Davis in his second game as an NBA player, 13 minutes, 13 points, 10 boards, 4 blocks.
Wonderful game. He's a great fit, and the biggest thing for him is that they wanted him to be there. That was not like a flyer or, we'll take this guy. They had a plan for Trace Jackson Davis, and that's very rare for a second-round pick, especially a late second-round pick. So good for him.
Correct.
I would love to see him be a really good pro player and prove a lot of people, including me, wrong, because I didn't necessarily see him as a really good NBA player. I saw him maybe as a deep rotational guy, but it looks like he's already that, and he's in game 3.
That mustard hits.
Yeah, it's good.
Little basketball next?
Little Pacers next, little Love That Play next, little college football next. Mixing it up a little bit here on Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back. Bailey and Wood presents Query and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network alongside Jay Query. I'm Derek Schultz. Thanks so much for joining us. Bailey and Wood Financial Group, 5-star customer service, 19 Indiana branch locations, and even a couple in Florida as well at bawfg.com, 855-350-HOME. So if you're looking to get pre-approved for a mortgage or looking to refinance, you could do so with Mike and his fantastic team at Bailey
Mike's the
and
best,
Wood.
man. He's going to be here next week, right?
Going to be here next week. They were just down in Miami for a Dolphins win. He took his son Walker down there, had a great time, met some players. And really looking forward to having Mike in studio next week while you are in Belgium.
That's right.
Should be a lot of fun. Let's talk Pacers. A decent start, right? 2-1. That disappointing loss to the Bulls. But overall, 2-1. I think you take that so far. What was most interesting to me going into the season, Jake, and I think this was for a lot of people, was how the rotation was going to shake out. And at least so far, it's been a pretty firm 9-man rotation. So the bench has been healed. Nemhard, Nesmith, and Jalen Smith, who's played well. And the bench as a unit has played really well. And the guys that have been left out, even though TJ McConnell played a good role the other night, have essentially been McConnell, Isaiah Jackson, Jordan Nwora, Jarris Walker.
Right.
Those are the guys who have they've only appeared in one of the first 3 games. Daniel Tice hasn't played at all.
Jarris Walker, Derek.
So you're starting to get the backup big, and those minutes have been Smith, and you're starting to see this team sort of take shape here early.
I took a photo of Jarris Walker in his first game.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it.
He's a
here.
big dude.
Might take me a second to find this photo. Hang on.
He's a really big guy.
He is a big guy. And look, it's one game into his NBA career, so I'm saying this almost in fun. There's a photo I took, though. See if you can see it on my. There we go. That's a photo I took of Jarris Walker. Do you want to explain the photo?
It's a buck, and he's muscular.
And?
That's a big dude.
And
he's looking at you.
And
he's what?
that's a deer in the headlights. That's what that is.
Oh, I thought you were giving him a compliment.
Jarris Walker was a deer in the headlights in his first game.
Yeah.
He airballed a bunny shot. He was 0 for 4. He just looked like the game
looked
was
like he was already.
He's going to be a fine player. Don't get me wrong. But
He's
in
young.
that first game, you could tell it was.
He's young.
And
And
Ben Shepherd. You didn't mention him either, but he's another one.
no, and he did. Yeah, he did get in there at least at one point. Obi Toppin. It's a 3-game sample size, so you got to take everything with a grain of salt. But remember, there was a lot of excitement over Obi Toppin, and I've got this buddy that is convinced that he's Blake Griffin. The Pacers are just going to unlock him, and Obi Toppin has been who he's always been. Like he'll have a highlight reel dunk or two, but that's essentially.
He had one.
the
He
player
had
that he's
one.
been.
Let
Yeah.
me tell you something. Against Chicago, I've never seen a guy take a rebound basket from the opposite side and reverse slam it.
Yeah.
So the ball goes up, it caroms to the opposite. He's going up for the rebound. The ball goes to the other side. He manages to get under the rim, grab it, and dunk it behind him. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was pretty great. And he can do that. He's a very, very gifted athlete, but he needs to show some other skill set.
I think, Derek, if you look at the Pacers off to a 2-1 start, and they've gotten really good deep play, as Derek was talking about. But the one area where they struggled against Chicago, which is the reason they got their first loss, is they did not shoot the ball well on the wings. When you get a combined 1, 2, or 3 of 12 from three-point range from your wing shooters, that's going to be a problem, and that is what the problem they ran into. The thing I do like is they do have depth. If you look at what they did in Cleveland, their second unit was able to lift them up out of a hole that they got in early. And then late in the game, and this is the key, whenever you have a team with a lot of depth, you have to have it very definitive who your go-to guy is. Because a lot of times guys, when a game comes down to it, then they're standing there and they're like, wait a minute, so which one of us is the one that takes over here? And for the Pacers, in clutch moments, there is no doubt who the guy is that's going to be getting the rock.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's got a weird-looking shot a little bit, doesn't he?
Yes.
I don't know if it's the shot that's weird. It's like how Tyrese Halliburton loads up is kind of weird.
The problem for Halliburton is going to be later in his career is it does take him a second to get his shot off. So once he kind of loses that step and that crossover, once people are able to guard him closer, but I mean, we're years away from that.
Yeah, I feel like he loads up from like down here instead of up here, but it works.
Nembhard
right?
does as well.
It works. Those are 3 huge shots that he hit the other night in that game against a shorthanded Cleveland team. So, yeah, so far so good. I think the Pacers are going to be fine. I think they're going to be better. We talked about it last week. The Vegas projection was 38.5 wins. I think
45.
If this team isn't at least a 500 team, I think the season is a disappointment.
I would agree.
You know,
with that.
barring some like crazy injury, like Halliburton, tears his Achilles tomorrow.
45 and 37 in the 6th seed.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go 43 and 39 and the 7 seed.
Okay.
I think they're at the top of the play-in round.
Right.
That's where I think that they are. Quick college football roundup as well. Not really a lot to say. Indiana at least was competitive for the first time in a Big Ten game and had a real chance to kind of turn the screws and put the pressure on Penn State, who you could tell from the atmosphere, like they were tight. You know, when it was late, they were like, "Oh my God,
well, that's kind of what I'm talking about."
Are we tied with Indiana? Or
we're not supposed to be?
We're
here.
close with Indiana, but playing for the field goal late and running on that 3rd and 8, it's classic Indiana. They're so allergic and afraid of success that they'll run away from it if they have the chance to run towards it.
If you had to wager, is Tom Allen there a year from now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I have a weird feeling. You know, their finishing schedule stinks. They got Wisconsin this week, which Wisconsin's not good, but Wisconsin always kills Indiana, so I'm assuming they're going to lose that game. But Purdue's bad right now. Illinois is not very good at all, and Michigan State's bad. That's the only other winless Big Ten team. So they could very easily win all 3, if not 2 out of those 3 games, just by default.
Right. Yeah, Purdue's struggling for sure, Derek.
If they go 2-10, Jake, then I think you find a way to buy him out.
I thought Purdue, and I think Purdue thought they would get better quarterback play so far than they've gotten. Defensively also, I think people thought they'd be better than they are.
Yeah, the offense is behind and the defense is behind, and the cupboard wasn't very full for Ryan Walters, but still, these results, I don't think I'm stepping out on a limb to say they've been really disappointing. To go in against Nebraska, and Nebraska's better. Nebraska's probably going to be a bowl team this year for the first time in a while, but that's still not a great program, and you need to be better, especially in the Big Ten West. You need to be a little bit better.
If you had to list it right now, you got to write down on a sheet of paper the 4 teams in the college football playoff for who?
I'm sticking with Georgia and Michigan.
Okay.
I don't think Florida State's going to lose.
Okay.
Because I think Louisville's probably their biggest threat, and I'm still not convinced Louisville's that great. I think they're good.
I would agree.
I don't think they're that great. So those three, and now it's really tough because does Texas surge back into the picture if they win out? Washington looks real.
Yeah.
I mean, they struggled against two really bad teams. Stanford's awful, and they struggled against Stanford. So that fourth one is, if
You're missing one.
Here.
Man. You're missing a big one.
I'll say this, and people will probably go ballistic because this just happened last year. If Ohio State is super competitive against Michigan and
Ohio
loses,
State's in.
they have a great resume.
Yes.
They really do.
Ohio State right now may be number 1, Derek.
You beat 10-2. If we're assuming, Notre Dame will be favored in every game. I'm not saying it's a guarantee they go 10-2, but let's say hypothetically Notre Dame goes 10-2, so you beat them on the road. You beat, Penn State probably only loses one more, right? So you beat 10-2 Penn State as well. The Big Ten's not great, but still, those are two better wins than a lot of other teams have.
It's going to be, Derek, because here's the thing. Georgia and Florida State and Washington, okay? If one of those loses, Ohio State's in.
Georgia, I think, survives even a loss.
Okay, I agree with that.
Yeah.
So, between Florida State and Washington. Florida State and Washington, if they lose, they're out. Ohio State, if they lose to only Michigan, is in. If it's one loss Ohio State, one loss Washington, one loss Florida State, Ohio State gets that 8 days a week.
We've done this in the past where the
Ohio
team,
State is in. You mark my words, Ohio State Buckeye fans. Plan it now. You are in the college football semifinal.
Well, here's the thing, Jake. They could lose by 3 touchdowns to Michigan.
It doesn't matter.
And then we're having a different
in.
conversation.
If they have one loss and it's only to Michigan, they're in.
Because I think Michigan's that good.
I don't disagree, but if they have one loss and it's to Michigan, regardless of the score, they're in. If they have one loss, and what I'm saying is if there's only one unbeaten besides Michigan, if there's Michigan and one unbeaten, Ohio State is in.
If you have
They're the best of the one losses.
Hear me out.
Between Washington, Florida State, Texas, Ohio State,
Okay,
if they all
listen.
had one loss, Ohio State has the least egregious
Ohio
loss
State
and the best wins.
Hasn't been. I'll say this, and I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit. Ohio State hasn't been overly impressive against their schedule, even though I would agree that they have a great
Let me
resume.
ask you this. When does the first college football ranking come out?
Tonight.
Ohio State will be number 1.
Yeah. If they're just
Ohio State will be number 1.
If they're just doing resume, this is weird because I've been banging the table for resume for all these years, but Michigan is the best team in the country.
They might be, but based on what they've done, Ohio State will be number 1.
I'm really interested to see what they do because
who's Michigan's best win?
Yeah, it's probably Rutgers. Ohio State is on resume. I would agree if I'm voting on resume, Ohio State would be 1. I don't think there's any person on that committee that if you put a gun to their head right now and you said Michigan and Ohio State play tomorrow, who are you picking to win? I don't think one person picks Ohio State to win that game.
Fine.
So you have to reconcile those two things, though. If I'm making a ranking system, I have to be like, okay, well, this team has earned this spot, but I know this team is better than this team.
But what I'm saying to you is this, Derek. You have, let's take the teams that are in play. Georgia, Florida State, Michigan, Ohio State,
Washington.
Because
they're undefeated.
Texas, Oklahoma.
I thought you were just talking about the top 4 right now.
In play that have a chance.
Okay,
that are hanging around waiting for the door's going to open at 8:00. These are the people that are circling around the porch.
Yeah.
Who am I missing? Oregon?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
Oregon's got a chance to backdoor
So,
in.
of those, let's say that everybody has one loss or fewer. Georgia, if they're undefeated, is in. We know that. Georgia with one loss is in, right?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Okay, now.
I think so.
So, there's one spot vacated. We got 3 spots left, okay? Florida State. If they have a loss, who's their loss to?
Louisville in the ACC Championship? Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Out, right?
Maybe.
Washington. If they have a loss, who's their loss to?
They don't do divisions in the Pac-12 anymore, so it could be Oregon.
Utah?
Could be Oregon in a rematch.
They already beat Oregon.
Yeah, but I don't think the Pac-12 does divisions anymore, so it's the 2 best teams.
Does
so
the
it could be
Pac-12
Oregon
have a
again.
Pac-12 title game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Ohio State. If they have a loss, it's to Michigan. And they've already beaten 2 teams.
2 10-win teams.
Yeah.
Likely 10-win teams. Yeah.
Ohio State gets in. Washington.
They're just – and this is crazy to say out loud because of who they've been. I just don't think Ohio State is that good. Like,
I hate them.
Have you watched
but they're
them
gonna
play?
be in.
They don't look like
It doesn't
vintage
matter. They
Ohio
win,
State to
but
me.
they win.
Their resume says yes, but the eye test says no.
But you go by the resume, right?
You like to
That
go by
kid
some
doesn't-
combination of those two
That kid
things.
doesn't look very smart, and he doesn't look like he takes school
Well,
seriously,
yeah.
but he's got a 1590 on his SATs,
You have
and he's
to go by
valedictorian.
the combination of those two things. But I feel like Michigan's going to beat the brakes off of them. And if that happens, then Ohio State's case dwindles.
The Ohio State Buckeyes, as sure as the fact that we're sitting here doing a program and Derek just took a sip of the margarita and ate the Dutch country sandwich, as sure as that fact, the Ohio State Buckeyes, barring an upset loss, if their only loss is to Michigan, regardless of score, and they have one loss, the Ohio State Buckeyes will be in the college football playoff.
Can we spend 60 seconds on Clemson?
Sure.
Okay. I just didn't know your thoughts on
It's over. It's over.
So that's it?
Well, Clemson did what Butler basketball did. As they got better and better and their program escalated and people came for their coaches, they insisted on continually hiring from the inside. And then it got too far gone, and they went out and they got Garrett Riley as their coordinator, and they have a quarterback that is okay. I mean,
it's not any good. Yeah.
You know, he's a 5-star Texas player, but he's okay. Their receivers, you know, they had multiple transfers. Dabo Swinney got away from and was vociferous about his opposition to the transfer portal and NIL, and that's a death blow to your recruiting. You know, is it a one-year anomaly? Maybe, but I think the reality is that they elevate themselves back into the spot where they then become what they have always been, which is a 9-3 late December bowl team. That's probably who they are. It was a great run. It was fabulous. I loved it. I loved watching it. I loved going to games. And I think in the moment I didn't grasp how good they were. But they were really darn good, and they had unbelievable rosters.
Yeah,
that team they had that went 15-0 might be – Derek, don't laugh at me here. That team for Clemson that went 15-0 may be one of the 5 best college football teams of all time.
Well, and the team that they lost to in the 20 title game might have been one of the 5 best teams of all time in LSU.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. You know, if Clemson was playing, you know, last year's Georgia maybe is not a great example.
I mean, look at that team they had when they went 15-0.
Could have been 3 titles.
I mean, you had Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, T. Higgins, Justin Ross, who was healthy. Their defense.
Yeah.
I mean, Dexter Lawrence, Christian, how did I just forget his name?
Wilkins,
thank you. You know, who's the kid that Oakland or the Raiders selected? Cleveland Farrell.
Yeah.
Cleveland Farrell, who was
That
a great
was
college
a
player. But
Gruden pick.
yeah, not a good pro pick, but he's a great. I mean, they were loaded, man. Loaded.
Yeah, you had first-round picks all over the place, and that's dried up a little bit.
I mean, Amari Rodgers, they were loaded.
It happens. And I think the writing was on the wall. Like last year's, the last 2 years, they survived games. You know what I mean? And you're
Correct.
like, okay, they're still winning, so it's okay. But like you start to see the cracks in the foundation.
No, that's right.
Because they weren't, remember, in that era, Jake, 2015, 16, 17, they were crushing everyone in the league. They were winning like 52-10 every week. And that started drying up.
Oh,
and then
I
you
would go to
kinda knew.
games and just plan on the fact that I could leave in the third quarter.
Yeah. I mean, they were killing everybody that they played. So, I mean, it was a great run. It's not over forever. I mean, Clemson has raised their profile several tiers.
It also helps that you went back-to-back with 2 of the great college football players of the last 25 years at quarterback.
And it's hard to replicate that over and over and over again. I think Alabama, in a way, is kind of going through that too. We come back, quick hits. Jags report. Chateau Kitchens, Bader Bobley. Plenty to get to. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
IUPUI basketball is back. Come witness history with head coach Matt Crenshaw inside Indiana Farmers Coliseum and head coach Kate Bruce inside the Jungle as they usher in a new era of Jaguars athletics. Be there for exciting Horizon League and in-state matchups. Affordable fun for the whole family. Full season tickets are now on sale starting as low as $80. Order today at IUPUIJags.com/tickets. or call 317-278-2530. Work hard, make noise, have fun. Go Jags.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Welcome back. Bailey & Wood presents Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network, alongside Jake Query. I'm Derek Schultz. This is disappointing, Jake, because every once in a while I can, and this is kind of like, it would have been easier for me when I was a kid. I had a little bit of a lazy eye, and it could just kind of wander off this way. But you may know this. I mean, I like to look at pretty things, like beautiful things, like sunsets and, art. When we're doing this show, I like to, and you'll catch me every once in a while going like this. This is our program monitor. Okay. So I can see this when I look up here. Hi. And then I could even do the other monitor. Oh, sorry, I looked that way. Hold on, let me do that again. When I go here. Now this one's harder to see because it's above me, so I can still see it a little bit, but I
Everything's
usually default
above
to
you.
This one. Because I like
Derek, we're doing a podcast. Nobody has any idea what the hell you're talking about.
Well, there are people that listen.
For those that can't see it, you're doing the weird Bruce Arians gif where you turn your head quickly and then you're looking up and doing some sort of a weird magic spell.
I guess what I would say is that in this setting, I don't always like this, but I like to watch myself. Like this studio to me is the bedroom that has the mirrors on the ceiling. Now, I don't have... Full disclosure, I do not have mirrors on my ceiling at home, nor have I ever had mirrors on my ceiling. But there are people that they're into that. I'm not into that, but I'm into this. Have you ever?
Is this a 1970s basement? What are we doing here?
Have you ever gone to somebody's house and they've had mirrors on the ceiling in their bedroom? Yeah.
Yes.
Are you like, cool? Like
I was like 8. I didn't.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Never mind then. I didn't know what your reaction would be to something like that.
Okay. What are we doing here?
We're doing a show, Query and Schultz, presented by Bailey & Wood Finance Group. Also brought to you by Love That Play. It's time to get to our Love That Play. Brought to you by our friends at Love Heating and Cooling.
I'm sure they're thrilled.
Super thrilled.
I'm sure thrilled.
Super duper thrilled.
Love is just thrilled to go from ceiling, what mirrored ceilings, to talking about Love Heating and Air. If the mirrors on your ceiling are a little too foggy, I mean, what? I'm
picking Adolis Garcia again. Walk-off homer.
Let's tell people about Love Heating and Air.
Game one.
It's been around since 1920. Over 100 years of customer service in Central Indiana. Love-HVAC.com is their website. 317-353-2141 is their telephone number. That's 317-353-2141 for Love Heating and Air. You're talking about obviously getting your furnace checked this time of year, making sure that's going. But if you have a problem in the dead of winter, 24-hour on-call maintenance, and they treat you like family. I've known them my whole life. Great product, great prices, and caring about the product and the customer. That's what you get, Derek, from Love Heating and Air.
They're the best. Been over to my house, I would say many times, but my HVAC system has been so great that they really haven't been there many times.
Right,
but when we've needed them, they've been there, and that's what you need. You need
Garcia's
somebody that's
been huge, by
dependable.
the way.
And Garcia's been dependable as well. Most RBI in a single postseason ever. And his walk-off homer in Game 1 in the 11th inning capped a big rally for the Rangers, who've now taken back home field advantage. They lead the series 2-1 with where we're taping right now. Not a sexy matchup.
It's kind of fun, though.
We're going to talk about the ratings here in just a little bit, which are not surprising, but it's always good to see somebody kind of step forward. And remember David Freese with the Cardinals, right? And
How could you forget?
Yeah, but like you have these guys that sometimes, and Garcia's a better player than him, but you have these guys that sometimes kind of come forward and then no one knew about them a week or two ago outside of fans in that sport, right. And now a lot more people know about them, and I feel like that's happened with Garcia, and it's rare to say that about baseball anymore.
Garcia's home run in Game 1 was on the anniversary of Freese's home run that Slayed Texas in the World Series.
Yeah, which was, and that's what the interesting tie-in is that was the last time that the Rangers were in the World Series in those back-to-back years. So good for Garcia and good for our friends at Love Heating and Cooling, 353-2141, love-hvac.com. Let's get right into our quick hits, and we'll segue right into it. Lowest rated World Series game one ever, not a surprise.
Yeah.
Right. 4.6 rating, 9.1 million viewers on Fox. A couple of things here. A, fewer people are watching linear TV. So comparing ratings from 1998 to now, it's apples and bowling balls. Also, baseball's less relevant than it used to be. I think we all know that.
No doubt.
And it's not a good matchup for casual to non-baseball fans. No one knows anything about the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Texas Rangers. They have little to no relevant history, either of those franchises, and it's a drawback. Say what you want about the Astros and about, oh, God, the Astros again. People are familiar with the Astros. They probably feel like they either like or really strongly dislike the Astros, right? The Diamondbacks and Rangers, do you love or hate either of those teams?
Right.
You don't feel either way about it.
Who's the second baseman of the Diamondbacks?
Yeah, no idea. No idea. Jay Bell. You know what I mean?
Do you know Jay Bell?
No idea. No, like Jay Bell from the old Pirates, and then I think he was on
like
the 01 team.
Matt Stolman could be the center fielder for the Rangers.
Yeah. But the center fielder for the Diamondbacks or Rangers could walk into this room right now, and I'd be like,
right.
Yeah, what are we doing here?
Yeah, you're right.
I'll fully admit that that's where I am. But it is fun, and I don't care who wins. And those are the best games to watch when you're just rooting to be entertained. James Harden, your favorite player, traded again. Sixers sent Harden, PJ Tucker, and Philip Pertusev to the Clippers for Marcus Morris. Is it just me or is Marcus Morris always involved in these trades?
Well, he's got a twin brother, too. So
well, yeah, maybe I'm getting confused. Robert Covington, Nick Batum, KJ Martin, and a bunch of first-round picks. 2028 unprotected, 2 2s, and a 2029 pick swap, and an additional first that will be routed from third team.
So the Clippers now have Kawhi, Paul George, and James Harden.
You're missing one.
Chris Paul.
Russell Westbrook.
Okay.
So if this was 2015,
it's like when Washington had Deion Sanders and Bruce Smith.
You'd be really, really excited. Dana Wilkinson, didn't they sign at some point, the Redskins that year? Yeah. Harden's going like this. I mean, he's 34. The numbers are on the decline. I understand he's had some injury issues, but he's not the same player.
He was actually, for a guy that I think is ultra selfish, he was last year, like, he averaged 12 assists a game.
Yeah, there are going to be guys like this, Jake, that people are going to be really mad to have to accept how good they were. And Harden is one of those guys where Harden really is one of the best 30 to 40 players probably in NBA history or will be when it's all said and done. I mean, he's an all-time great level player. Like, not like Kobe or, like that Larry Bird, that level, but he's like on that next tier.
Yeah, he's a very good player, but
he'll always have that
want him
label.
on my team.
Yeah, he'll always have that label of not being a winner. IMS statewide economic impact estimated to be $1 billion. I sometimes roll my eyes at these studies because they could say any number and it'd be hard to kind of verify that. But I did find it interesting. This study said that over $500 million can be tied just to events around the 500 and the month of May. So Indy 500 related spending, from tickets to transportation to food to hotel to merch to team expenses. They say it doubled the impact, the economic impact of the 2012 Super Bowl. But that's hard because that's a one-day event compared to a couple of weeks. But still, I mean, kudos to the folks at IMS. I think they reinvented themselves a bit in the past 10 years.
I'd agree with that. And they've managed to...
It's a year-round facility now.
Correct. They've managed to use it in areas aside from just the 500.
It was a spirit Halloween for, the years that weren't month of May.
Right.
When I first came here, and now, they've done a great job of making it a thing. Let's get to our IUPUI Jags report.
Heck yeah.
IUPUI. Women's soccer capped the regular season with a 2-0 home win.
By the way, I went there, met Lauren, wonderful young woman, met Luke, the athletic director, had a great conversation with them. Fabulous facility. Met one of the men's soccer players that's a North Central Panther. So it was great. It was great to go out there and be at Michael Carroll Stadium. And, man, what a beautiful field they were playing on. Very, very cool.
Yeah, it's they've had a good season. Both soccer teams have had a really good season. With the win, IUPUI claimed the number 2 seed in the upcoming Horizon League tournament and also a bye. Jags will next play in the tournament semis Thursday in Milwaukee against NKU. Men's soccer in the penultimate, one of my other favorite words besides fungible, penultimate match of the regular season, came back from a goal down to score a point and a 1-1 draw against Milwaukee. Jags conclude the regular season at Purdue Fort Wayne on Wednesday, and then they'll figure out what their Horizon League tournament seed is then. Cross country, men's second in the Horizon League championships. The women were 4th in Dayton this past weekend. Andrew Whittinger and Nate Kaiser led the Jags, finishing 4th and 5th respectively to earn first team all-league honors. IUPUI swimming and diving beat Cleveland State and Milwaukee to open the weekend. Volleyball fell to Purdue Fort Wayne 3-2. They're on the road this week at Robert Morris and Youngstown State before coming back home. And then hoops, a week from right now. We're taping this on Halloween. Men's and women's basketball opens the season. Jags men are actually the first in the country to start. 11 a.m. against Spalding. The women will tip off at 7 in the Jungle against EIU. Tickets at iupuijags.com/tickets.
Division I college athletics with players from all around the country, but obviously a lot locally as well. And a great chance to introduce kids to the college environment, college atmosphere, going down supporting a local university, IUPUI. Tickets again, Derek, iupuijags.com/tickets for your
Last
Jaguars.
ticket for the Jaguars. They are hungry for wins this year. They're starving for them.
You couldn't wait until, we're about to go to break. You couldn't wait?
Oh, yeah, we are about to go to break. You're right. I probably shouldn't have done that right away. Took the shout to my mouth. Chateau Kitchens, Byron Bobley.
Chateau Kitchen to Byron
When we come back.
When we come back.
Aquarian Schultz.
It's Aquarian Schultz.
ISC Sports.
ISC Sports Network.
See you in a little bit.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Back for final time. Aquarian Schultz, ISC Sports Network, presented by Bailey and Wood Financial Group. He's Jake. I'm Derek. Thanks for joining us. YouTube, podcast, Twitch, Twitter, X, Facebook.
X, yeah.
What else are we on? Is that it? Oh, ISC, obviously, on the ISC app, iscsportsnetwork.com. Cable providers throughout the state of Indiana. We're at a lot of places, Jake.
Yeah.
A lot of places. Let's get to Chateau Kitchens. Buy it or bull bleep. They're in a lot of houses. Fixing them up, making them real purty. Did that with my house. Did that with my basement, my guest bathroom, I guess, which has become James's bathroom and my kitchen. Anything on the interior of your home.
James is in your bathroom. That means that there's no reason to show you using it anymore. That's wonderful. That shower.
Wanted to test it out.
Okay.
Wanted to test out the shower, and it was thumbs up.
Okay.
On the shower, which is why I did that live action shot. There it is. That's actually, there's the one of me in the shower. Yeah. Hello. ChateauKitchens.com, at Chateau
Pulling
Kitchens.
the hat all the way down.
On Instagram and Facebook.
Let me know when
for
it's
before
clear.
and after pictures. Here's what we do with Bite or Bowl Bleep. I give a statement. Jake and I go back and forth whether we bite or it's Bowl Bleep. Statement 1, Colts will pick top 10 in the draft. Bite or Bowl Bleep?
It's Bull Schultz. Because they're going to have a decent pick, but they're going to draft like 17th because they're still going to win some games. They're not totally incompetent, and their schedule is really favorable. So they're gonna pick like 12th, 15th, 17th.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they're going to go 7 and 10 and pick 13.
Exactly.
That's what I think. If you ask me, what are they going to do the rest of the way? I think they'll go 4 and 5, and that would put them at 7 and 10. But it's a weird year, right? Because there really isn't a true
Jacksonville now is in control of the division.
The Patriots aren't good, but I don't know if the Patriots are terrible, right?
Who's terrible? The Bears?
Carolina. I would have said Denver before the last couple of weeks, and look at them now. The Jets aren't terrible.
Right.
The Giants are pretty bad.
Yeah, the Giants.
Giants are pretty bad, especially with the injuries as well. Statement 2, Indiana will win the Old Oaken Bucket this year. Buy it or bull blade?
Yeah, I buy that.
Yeah.
I don't think Indiana's untalented.
I don't think they are either.
I think they got some issues, but I don't think talent's one of them.
Here's what I'll say. We've had these games before, right, where Indiana has a bad year, Purdue has a bad year.
Where is it this year?
It's in West Lafayette. So I default to, if it's a coin flip, I default to the home team. Yeah. That's how I've always picked the bucket game. Remember those mid-2000s years where Indiana was, Kevin Wilson, they were sort of climbing up, and it would be like the Darrell Hazel era of Purdue.
Right.
I don't think we're there with Ryan Walters. I don't think Purdue's down that bad, but clearly they've got a long way to go. But I think at home they find a way. I mean, they did beat up on Illinois. They do have a Big Ten win at the very least with where we sit today. So I'll say bull bleep on that. You should never give out coconut Halloween candy. Buy it or bull bleep? 100% buy it.
Well, I mean,
if you have Almond Joy or Mounds and you're handing them to me, I get to throw them back on your roof. And that's what we used to do when we were kids.
Well, you're a brat.
And raisins. There was one lady that gave us raisins. We took them every year, and then we hucked them back up on her roof.
No. Mounds and Almond Joy are fabulous. The mix of the dark chocolate with the coconut. Okay.
Vince is with me. We got a split room back there. JD's not with me.
There are two candies that are two things inexcusable to give out on Halloween.
Okay.
The peanut butter taffy waxed black and orange wrapped stuff, totally bunk. Nobody's giving that out,
no.
Right? And then homemade popcorn balls, parents don't even allow their kids to eat that anymore.
Yeah.
And then, of course, those people that try to trick the kids by putting in their drug-laced gummy bears.
Or razor blade apples. Yeah, here's another thing. Public service announcement. No one is giving away drugs to your kids.
Right.
Why would anyone do that?
Why
would anyone give away their drugs?
Do you think the razor blade thing is like a 40-year urban legend, or has that really happened?
I think it's one of those things that might have happened once. And so they've made it into this whole big thing. I mean, you worked in TV news. They're always looking for something that's like sensational.
That is correct.
That they can run, and
this
whole my edibles. I'm giving my edibles to your kids. You know how much those cost? And this isn't somebody that buys edibles, but like that stuff's it ain't cheap. It's not like I'm going into Sam's Club for a economy sized package of fruit stacks.
Right.
It's expensive. So no one wants to give your kids drugs. Trust me.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Thanks to all of our great sponsors.
Happy Halloween, by the way.
IUPUI Jaguars Athletics. Hoagies and Hops. Chili Water Brewing Company. Love Heating and Cooling.
I can't believe we're not in costume.
Bailey and Wood Financial
You're so
Group.
mature now.
Did I miss anybody? I think I got everybody, right? For Jake, for Vince, for JD, for Rake, I'm Derek. We will see you next time here on Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Bye.
IUPUI basketball is back. Come witness history with head coach Matt Crenshaw inside Indiana Farmers Coliseum and head coach Kate Bruce inside the Jungle as they usher in a new era of Jaguars athletics. Be there for exciting Horizon League and in-state matchups. Affordable fun for the whole family. Full season tickets are now on sale starting as low as $80. Order today at IUPUIJags.com/tickets or call 317-278-2530. Work hard, make noise, have fun. Go Jags.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
Ball here. Harris